another CTD experience. The voice not too strong, but we're going to make it work, eh? It's our pleasure to be with you once more. Give us 2 hours, and we'll solidify the bonds that we share as Dominicans. We'll connect dots, we'll weave a tapestry. We promise to add excitement to your Saturday. It is March 15. Yes, March 15. March 15. And we welcome you to another episode, another connection. I hope all of you received the CTD memo, right? That we are starting at 9. So I hope Nigel is around. Nigel is not sleeping still. I'm not seeing Nigel, but I'm sure he's here. It's always a pleasure to connect with you on DBS Radio. We see this as very important, you know. The fact that we can set aside some time to ensure that we strengthen the bonds that, you know, bind us as the ties that bind us as Dominicans. Because these are the ties that bind. So for us, it's a big thing at DBS Radio to ensure that we meet here every Saturday, unless, of course, there's something that we cannot meet on a Saturday. But we meet every Saturday to connect. And for us, this is it. This is the big deal. So now, last week, Nigel Francis was on island. So he was on the program live. He was in studio and everything. He was shining and all of that. But I regret to inform you that Nigel Pwekui. Oh, Shani said it again in her song. Here on. Nigel, come a while. I'm not seeing you. I hope you're here, Nigel. What? I'm not getting Nigel. Nigel? Let's see what happens, but we're going to connect. Yo batokika kule pasa apeshe your lot navige, right? So let's see if Nigel is around. Nigel is ensuring that he comes on. Nigel, you sent me a message this morning. I replied. What is happening to you? It's connecting the dots on DBS Radio. Of course, we start with a prayer. Normally we start with a prayer. Probably we can pray now. Let's do the prayer now whilst we get Nigel and ensure that we're live. So let's do our prayer and then we bring on Nigel Francis.
Heavenly Father, creator of mankind and the universe, we thank thee for the gift of life today and all the blessings you continue to bestow on your children.
We seek your presence and intervention throughout this program, and we ask that you keep us connected always.
We also pray for the success of the program, its coordinators and listeners, that they may find purpose and enjoy what we share.
Bless our radio station and the nation, and may we grow to love and unite with each other, irrespective of our differences.
All this we ask in your name, now and forever. Amen.
Amen. I say amen. And we officially welcome you to Connecting the Dots. Nigel is not on and not getting him on his mobile, but what is happening here today? That's what I'm seeing, eh? Nigel, let's make something work. You cannot disappoint our guest today. I know you're looking forward to having our guest on. So let's see. I'm just taking some commands there from the web administrator. All right. Yes, you can go ahead, put us on. Put me on live. Let's share the live as well. We're going to celebrate women, of course, as we said, from very early in the month of March. Our focus is really on women. International Women's Day was observed on the 8th of March. And we have so many women we can just invite on this program. We have invited a lot already in the past, but so many women we can invite and just listen to their stories and, as they seek to empower you as well. And it's for that reason, of course, that we have our guest here today. I'm trying to get Nigel still. We're ensuring that everything is working. Of course, my co-host Nigel, you don't Nigel, I don't know, Nigel doesn't feel it, So Nigel, if you're not here, but we'll see. We'll make it happen. We'll make it work. Nigel, I'm calling you. I'm not getting you. Oh yes, but it's connecting the dots. We started this program in 2020. It was in November, on the 14th of November 2020. COVID was around, and we decided to do something to strengthen our ties as Dominicans. We have so many Dominicans doing wonderful things overseas and doing wonderful things right here. We have so many associations as well, a lot of Dominican organizations overseas. So we decided, let's have a program. Let's extend what was already there. So we had Diaspora Link back in the day with Alex Bruno and Emil Pabin Sarah, and we decided to take it a notch further and extend the time. I think they had originally 30 minutes and we extended the time, and look at where we are. We have 2 hours, and it's really a pleasure to connect with Dominicans. Every Saturday we come here. Just recently we missed 2 Saturdays because we had a Samedi Go activity on DBS Radio, so obviously we gave up the time, but that's no big deal. And then we continue. We're trying to get Nigel, and I'm not sure what is happening. Nigel is giving me a message there that he forgot his phone in his office, but he has another phone, so let's see if this can work. So yeah, we'll make it work. If not, I'll just go ahead, and Nigel will just join us anytime. It's not unfamiliar territory for me. Said it's a lovely Saturday. Let's also extend deepest condolences. Okay. The family of the late Fitzroy Williams. Nigel, hold a while. Nigel, he's not on yet, but he'll be on momentarily. Nigel's sounding really breathless. I don't know what marathon Nigel running there. But I know Nigel, he doesn't want to miss, programs. Ensuring that everything is in order. It's a nice combo that Nigel and I have. I can do it on my own, Nigel can do it on his own. It's always nice when we have this, the 2 of us. Like poor pair, yeah? Okay, so let's see. Is Nigel on now? Nigel is coming on. We have our guest in studio looking all regal and all of that. And look at us with hitches. But it's okay. We're going to make this work. We have had hitches in the past, and then I tell you, we come out bigger. So I realize Nigel is coming on. I see movements. So we welcome you again to Connecting the Dots on DBS Radio. So I was saying that we are extending condolences as well to the family, very close friends as well, of the late Fitzroy Williams, who passed this week on the weekend in Martinique, after a battle with illness. And Fitzroy contributed immensely to the music landscape, not just in Dominica, in the region as well and further afield, especially in the French Caribbean back in the day when Calypso, really made its entrance in the small island and really stamped its authority as well on the musical milieu. And Fitzroy Williams really contributed a lot to the development of Calypso with Gordon Henderson, and the likes, back in the day when we had so many Cadence groups. But not only that, they ensured that they continued with the music. And he performed so many places. He did so much. Just recently, he was on a program on DBS Radio with Leroy Waddix Charles, Ambassador Leroy Waddix Charles. And he passed. And we say rest in peace, rest in eternal power. But let's begin. So let me see if Nigel is on now. Nigel should be on by now. Nigel? Okay, so I'm not getting Nigel. I don't know why. Nigel, I can give you let me tell you what to do, Nigel. Just take Ellie's phone, man. And if the other phone is not working, let's make this work. Let's make this work, Nigel. of course, it's the Lenten season, and you know it's still very sacrosanct for a lot of of Catholics. A lot of people continue to practice Lent, and you know, the almsgiving, the fasting, the special prayers, and all of that is on the Lenten season, 40 days, and we respect that as well. A lot of people, you know, go on strict diets, and sometimes for some people it's like a New Year's thing. You know, for the New Year's, a lot of people, what they do at the start of the New Year is that they have their New Year's wish, or they give you their rules for the New Year's. They don't really keep up to it. So, but you know, the Lenten season, of course, we are still predominantly Catholic, and we continue to uphold this as well. That the Lenten season, you know, falls on Ash Wednesday, immediately after Carnival, and it goes on for 40 days. The season goes on for 40 days, but after the Easter, which comes up, you know, the Easter continues for a long period as well. Okay, so I'll just have to go ahead. Let me see what is happening on the book. Are we on? Yes, I think we are on. We should be on. I'm not getting Nigel. Nigel, when you're ready, just holler. I have you on. So whenever you're ready, just come across and we'll make this happen. As I said, we have had some hitches in the past, but that cannot keep us down. No way, that cannot keep us down. All right, so we have a guest in studio, but I wanted to have like how you call it, a Dominica corner with Nigel. We wanted to do some nursery rhymes and all of that, you know. And Nigel is not here. I think Nigel is going to get a detention. Mark my words. Nigel is going to get a detention, not a suspension, but Nigel is going to get a detention because something is just not happening, you know, for Nigel here today. But we'll see what happens. And we welcome all of you, wherever you are at this time, you know, on the live, on the book. Those of you who are late, of course, you know the drill. You may get a detention, you may get a demerit, but we'll work it out at the end. And yes, so we welcome you to another edition of Connecting the Dots. And it is our pleasure to have, you know, you on as part of, you know, the family, the city family. We have Sonia Williams. I mean, we have a powerful, phenomenal woman, a Dominican, who has done and continues to do a lot, you know, in terms of national development. She has contributed so much, you know, to this. But when you consider someone who has done so much in education, it says a lot. Because once a teacher, always a teacher. You just never leave this. It is with you. It is tied with you forever. And Sonia Williams has, she has fashioned and molded a lot of young minds, you know, in Dominica. And a lot of people, I know when I sent out the flyer, I got a lot of responses, and they were like, wow, she taught me, or, you know, wow, I've admired her. And, you know, a lot of things happening with the flyer, you know, from since we posted it. And so I was telling Nigel as well that I cannot believe we have not had Sonia Williams. And he was telling me, even for true, you know. And then, you know, I went back to some of the past guests we have had, and I'm like, oh my goodness, that's a travesty, you know, that's a travesty. And so we decided to right that wrong. And here we are with Sonia Williams. We are not here with Nigel. Francis, are you on, Nigel? I don't know what is happening to Nigel. I guess I'll have to just call Nigel straight on the line, and we'll not see Nigel on the book, but yeah. Okay, so yes, you're not on Zoom or WhatsApp. Nigel, I sent you the Zoom link, you know, on your order number. So anyway, so we're talking about Sonia Williams, who have contributed, you know, to not just the education landscape. She has done so much as a woman. And you know what I like about women that empower other women, you know, they have a lot of values, and they realize that their upbringing, how they were raised in their home. And we'll talk about all of that with Sonia Williams, you know, how she was raised with her siblings and her mother and her father. But women who have values and decide at some point in life that they should pass on, you know, help other women through the values that they gained as from childhood days, you know, that is just remarkable. That's just remarkable. So I'm hearing that Nigel came on. I'm seeing, in fact, that Nigel came on. Nigel? Okay.
Hey, morning.
Nigel.
Morning.
Nigel, let me tell you something.
Hold on.
No, boy, Nigel.
Listen, man, the devil set a whole heap of traps on me this morning.
What
you see?
a joke that, man.
Yeah.
No, boy, Nigel Moka sway. I'm checking
But I
what.
am, but I am here. I say, no way, he's setting the trap, but I not falling. I gotta fix it. Yes, I had a little voodoo on the
It's all
Zoom.
right. It's okay. It's okay. Voodoo, I'm connecting the dots.
Yes,
I
yes,
dispel
yes,
this.
yes. Let
No,
me
go
see.
away.
I
Yeah.
may say, I'm gonna swear up with her.
Okay, so me when can sway. And again, I have the flu, so I cannot even speak properly. So I'm like, boy,
I
if Nigel doesn't
stressing, you
come.
know. Hold on, I trying to see the video coming now, and this is the audio there. So I'm gonna
Okay,
swear
yeah,
up
go
with her.
ahead.
Din,
Do what you have to do, Nigel. Do what you have to do. But it's nice to hear your
tell
voice. It's
Din,
nice to hear you on.
Din,
Dean is
Din,
not
come
with
and
me.
help me.
Dean is not with me today, so we have Dennis. So the other D. So call
All right,
Dennis.
Dennis, come and help
Dennis
me.
should Dennis is the one helping you. But it's nice to have you on, Nigel. I was talking about how Sonia Williams has contributed so much to the development of Dominica, and not just in Dominica as well, because that would have spread far and wide. Because just imagine a teacher, educating young minds, and a lot of our people, have traveled. So just imagine, the benefits, that was imparted through her teaching. So Nigel, okay, I'm seeing you now. I'm
Yes,
seeing
I'm
you
a little
now.
in the dark because I have
I'll
to
do with
move
that.
somewhere and
I'll
move
do with that.
somewhere and all
Kiss.
kind of story.
No, boy,
But
Nigel. I
I'm
say
here.
you give up, boy. Nigel, I say so many things already. I say you run. I say, oh, boy, we. Nah, man, Nigel.
Don't worry, they will tell me what you said.
Yes, I. But Nigel, okay, so it's a pleasure to have you on. We had the prayer already. We had the prayer. And
Beautiful,
it's
beautiful,
it's nice to
beautiful.
have you on, Nigel. But I was just saying, though, Fitzroy Williams, the passing of Fitzroy Williams, we extend our
Oh
deepest
yes,
condolences
yes,
to
yes,
his
yes,
family.
yes, yes, yes. I mean, that was definitely one of those. I mean, that's the legend, the musical legend plus that has passed.
Yeah, yeah.
Kind of maestro that he was, and the music that he has left us.
Oh yes, the music that he has left us. That's it. That's it.
Yes.
There's a legacy that he left as well, and and a lot of us can emulate, especially those in the music industry. So yeah.
Oh yes,
I
oh
was
yes,
saying.
oh yes, oh yes.
I live next to Fitzroy, Nigel. I live right next to Fitzroy Williams, on Queen Mary Street. It was Queen Mary Street then. It's Independence Street now. That same place where you have this church, Pastor Randy Rodney Church. So I lived in that Laco Shillingford. So I
in that
lived right
Laku
next
place there, right
to
there.
Fitzroy.
Okay. So
Yes.
you were part of the
Yes, he lived with
of
his
the
mom.
music
Right, Mark Curtin,
that was happening right there next
Of
door.
course. I tell you, I live in a vibrant square. So apart from Kadas was happening there as well, Calypso was on a high there. So a lot was happening in that Laco Shillingford. And, Fitzroy was always traveling back then. And at a very young age, I came to understand why he was traveling, because I understood then that, he was in music. And I was listening to DBS radio as a little girl, and I was hearing his name, and so much was happening at that time. And,
Right.
so yeah. So as I said,
I mean, it's almost like at that time, although you were not really directly involved, but you were being
yes,
you were being
yeah.
schooled and
You
educated, and
see, I tell you.
you were being groomed for what was
Yeah,
going to happen
that's true.
around you, all
Yes.
the things that was happening
Yeah,
around you.
that's
You
it.
know what I mean?
So rest in peace, rest in power, Fitzroy
Oh
Williams.
yes,
Nigel, by the
definitely
way,
rest in peace, my
I
brother.
got what's the flu? Is the Widim something like that? The cold.
Oh,
I think
the
it's
rhythm.
the Widim or something like that. But Nigel, I got it
Or you,
on Tuesday morning.
or you almost sent me back. Or you almost sent me back with that way.
So Nigel, no, I took my fastness.
The first couple of days I come here, the first couple of days I came back here, I'm like, oh my gosh, don't tell me.
So Nigel, I took my fastness and I went to read news on Wednesday morning. And no, I got it on the flu on Tuesday morning. Nigel, I said, I'm reading, I'm not hearing myself. When I check it, but my mouth is moving. Why I'm not hearing myself? Nigel, the voice gone. So I speaking, but the words not coming out. Nigel, man, then I realized, I was under it. No, boy, Nigel,
Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy. I know youngster had a little bit of it.
Oh yes,
then,
I think he still has.
Yeah,
it.
but for some reason though, you always find like after a festival, after the events.
But yeah. Mm-hmm.
I guess because of so many gathering in one space,
right? Even
right?
after the World Creole Music Festival, and it goes all out.
Yes. So you like Tasha P, your body moving but nothing happening. This time there's your mouth moving but nothing coming out.
But I'm a little better today. I'm much better today.
Well, I'm happy to know that you at least you're able to be here with us today and connect.
So Nigel, yes.
So I'm glad you're recovering a little bit.
So we don't have much time. We have to bring her on very, very soon. But I was saying while you were not on, for many Catholic Christians, the Lenten season is still sacrosanct, and they take the season seriously, and Yeah, so we are in that season. So I just
We
want to
are in
bring
the
this up.
Lenten season. Yes. And I was happy enough before I left Dominicana to have gone to my service on Ash Wednesday to pick up
Okay.
his.
The ashes, yes.
And, you know, I
Do you know where the
brought it
ashes come from, Nigel?
If
The
I know what
ashes you
comes, the
receive
ashes.
on Ash Wednesday, do you know where how did the ash come about? Do you know?
Well, I think, I mean, and I mean, you might probably even know more about it than I, but I think it's really, you know, a reminder, which is, you know, from ash to ash, dust to dust kind of a thing.
Right, that's it.
You know, which reminds us and prepares us for, you know, the death and eventual resurrection of, you know, of our Lord and Savior.
Okay,
So,
but my question goes deeper. The ash that is used on Ash Wednesday, what was burnt? Where did it come from? Do you know? I know, I guess, know that
no, I
as
don't.
well.
No, I don't. You know, no, I don't.
Okay, so I was listening. I listened to a program. I think this year and last year we did a program, and the year before as well. We did several programs already on Ash Wednesday and Almsgiving and all of that. And,
right.
I learned a few years ago that I think it's from the Palm Sunday, the palms of Palm Sunday that are burnt, it's collected, you know, and the ashes, something like this. If I'm wrong, Sonia Williams will correct me. But yes, as a lot of people go through this season, some of them, you know, abstain from meat and other things, and
yes. You know, and I mean, it's a nice period of reflection, and if you're going to abstain, you know, it doesn't only have to be the physical abstinence, but you can, you know, in terms of the mind, and maybe, you know, abstain from not giving gratitude. You can abstain from maybe, you know, gossiping. You can abstain from sharing negative vibes. You know, there's other things you can abstain from if you don't want to give up something physical.
Yes,
you know?
yes. And these practices have deep roots in history, in our tradition as Caribbean people as well. But Nigel, let's go to the Dominica corner quickly, and we bring on our guest. My turn, man. Whose turn is it? Whose turn for the Dominica corner?
The last time was your turn. Last time was my turn. Your turn.
So I was saying, Nigel, let's do some nursery rhymes because you have a teacher on. She has to come in as well. By the way, she has to do her nursery rhymes even before she comes on as an official guest.
Right. She has to help us with some of the rhymes.
Yes, I remember long ago. We I think when we were starting the program, we did some nursery rhymes, but we can always go back to it. You know.
Yes.
I want to revisit school days. You know, especially primary school days. So it's very simple. You recite a nursery rhyme, and I'll recite one. The guest will do one as well. Yes, I am. Nigel, your turn. We go ahead.
Oh,
what nursery rhyme? Yeah, what nursery rhyme will you recite?
That's what we used to do. Nursery rhyme we used to do. Oh Lord, I tell you this morning, man. Start. Put me on my foot.
Well, what are you going to do now? Well, before we get ready for what?
It's a ring of roses, a ring of roses,
that's a nursery rhyme.
Full of posies.
That's
one of them, right?
That's a nursery rhyme. I put it on my guest. Is this a nursery rhyme?
That's a ring game.
That's a ring game, right? Sonia Williams? That's a ring game.
Can I give you a nursery rhyme?
Okay, she's going to help you, Nigel. She's going to give us one, and then you'll do yours after. So think of yours. So, okay, let's listen to our guest.
There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children, she didn't know what to do. She gave them some broth without any bread and whipped them all soundly and sent them to bed.
Yes.
Does that make sense? That doesn't make sense to me now, you know.
But boy, so many things. The cow jump over the moon.
Yeah.
The cow jump over the moon. Yes, that's a good one.
Yes. Yours, Nigel. Yours.
Well, I just give one to get everybody else.
What are they going to say?
Your turn.
Nigel, what? You should know Little Jack Horner.
I know. You were like Little Jack Horner before you came on.
Sat in the corner.
Eating his Christmas.
This morning is one of those mornings for me, I'm telling you.
Eating his Christmas pie, he put in his thumb and pulled out a plum and said, "What a good boy am I."
Yes. So Nigel, I can't believe you. Nigel, I can't believe you.
Listen, my Miss Britain, because I went to Miss Britain school. It's called Miss Britain, right? So my teachers, they would probably be, if they're listening, would probably be like, what is wrong?
You're very hot. You're ashamed.
For how much. Knock from much rule I take and hit him, but it's not the same deal in them.
So many nursery rhymes, Nigel. I mean, Jack Spratt could it no fat, his wife could it no lean, and so betwixt them both, you see, they lick the platter clean. Jack ate all the fatties, or something like that. Yeah. But
yes, there was
what?
a jacket all the fat thing.
Yeah. Or a poem or something. Like for me, I mean, I remember a lot of nursery rhymes, but what I particularly like is at secondary school at the Dominica Grammar School where I went to. This from the George Orwell Animal Farm.
You have to say that.
George Orwell Animal Farm. You know that poem, Beasts of England, Beasts of Ireland, Beasts of every land and clime, hearken to my joyful tidings of the golden future time. Sooner or later the day is coming, tyrant man shall be overthrown, and the fruitful fields of England shall be trod by beasts alone. Rings shall vanish from our noses, and the harness from our back. Bits and spurs shall rust forever, cruel rips no more shall crack, something like that. I mean, you taught me at the Dominica Grammar School, so you should know that. George Orwell. Well. You remember that, right, Nigel?
Yes, but you remember it extremely well.
Yes, yeah. Literature was my thing, Nigel. I mean, come on.
Oh yes,
that was my thing.
Yes.
Of course.
Definitely so.
It had to be.
You see, and the thing is now, because I don't have my other phone, I can't even
I understand.
see what I can't even. I mean, I know people helping me on the book, but I can't even log into the book. But this is a rough morning.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so Nigel, let's bring on our guest officially, of course. Sonia Williams is a woman who embodies strength and deep values. Sonia Williams has a reputation for being fairly outspoken. She is not laconic with words. She's never brief with words. She'll tell you what she has to tell you, but she will not hold you, on her heart or something like that. If for some reason you'll have a problem. Sonia is just a wonderful woman. She truly is a phenomenal woman. From her family background, Nigel, to her teaching career, her involvement in church, in community, in trade unionism, in children's issues, in women's issues, in politics, in fostering mentorship. And Nigel, I could go on and on and on. Sonia Williams is truly a remarkable woman. And Nigel, as we celebrate International Women's Month, it really gives us a great pleasure to have her as our guest. Really, Nigel, it's your turn now. What do you say before we bring her on officially?
I mean, according to my dear friend, there isn't much more we can add to what has been said, but definitely, I mean, when you talk of Sonia, you talk of, not just a phenomenal woman, but a woman who has been able to allow others to, want to follow in her footsteps, one who continues to fix the crown of the other women around her and try to ensure that they can, in some way, aspire to the things that they want to aspire to.
Yep.
In a very early time when you found that women were not, an integral part of our development in various areas, we saw Sonia being there. So it's definitely a pleasure to have her on. And I know she's a stalwart in the Newtown, Harlem community and so on. So it's really a pleasure to connect with her and to find out about her journey and just to connect, So that was the official welcome to Connecting the Dots. Of course, she's also a fan in terms of connecting the dots. She always sends a little thing, here and there when she's logged in. Today is her turn for people to say things about her.
I agree. Wow, she looks lovely, Nigel.
Sonia, welcome.
I love this. I love the background. I love the color. She really looks good. Sonia Williams,
yes,
bonjour.
She came prepared.
Bonjour, Yvonne.
How are you doing?
Bonjour, Nigel.
Nigel, by the way, I have to say
bonjour,
Auntie
bonjour.
Sonia. Yeah? So I have to say Auntie Sonia. Okay, so it's all
good
right.
for you.
Yes.
Right.
Welcome to Connecting the Dots. It is a pleasure to have you on. I was saying it's a travesty of justice, Nigel, that we have not had Sonia Williams on earlier. So she should be coming on now on second time or third time. But it's all right. It's all right.
But it's okay.
Yes.
We always say universe unfolds as it should.
As it should. That's it.
Time is at the right when
Yes.
it happens.
And there's no time like the now.
Yeah, that's
Nothing
it.
happens
you
before
go.
it's time.
Yeah,
There you go.
Yeah.
So thank you for having me this morning. It's a pleasure to be here. I want to thank God for waking me up this morning. I went to the market, but I had to leave early. Usually I spend some time at the market and, you meet people you have not met, or you meet every Saturday, have a conversation, and I spend some time there.
What is the market like, though? I mean, apart from meeting people, having a conversation, you would have gone to the market as a little girl back in the day? Or younger?
No.
And now you can make comparisons to what was and what is?
Well, I can make comparison with the times that I started doing my own marketing because, the family background will tell you something else. And I'm now, there is a lot of food in the market, a lot, all kinds. And besides the food and eggs and meat, then you have clothes. People sell clothes there, they have their little stalls. And then you have a couple shops there, and you would want to hear sometimes the language that comes from the shops because you know what they sell there. But it's a pleasure to be there, though. You meet people, you meet different people, and then you meet the same people. There are some people, if I want to meet them, I go to the market on a Saturday, and I meet them there. So interesting place to be on a Saturday morning.
Talking about that, though, Nigel.
But you also, I mean, at the market, yeah, no, I was saying at the market, you also find a situation where there's a lot of stories to be told, a lot of information, which is not always verified, but a lot of information that you get.
Who is pregnant and everything. All the stories you can find at the market.
And you know, some people go there, like I go there, I do my purchases, pick up whatever, and then there's a lady selling fashion there. She's my friend, so I sit there with her, and everybody say, you there? If I want to meet you on a Saturday, I can come by Bella. Her name is Bella, you know, we call her Bella. So it's an interesting place to be. You hear things, you know, if you listen well, and if you're a listener like me, pretend not to be listening, but you're listening at the same time. Boja Charlottesville. And you hear certain things and you were like, okay, did that happen for real? And, you know, depending on who it comes from, you can either, you know, justify it or not. It's not everything people say. Some things you have to take with a grain of salt.
Yes.
But then, you know, most times you hear a lot of stories in the market. You learn a lot there, and you sift what you should take, you know, and leave the rest in the market.
I like this.
So
talking about the market, Nigel, by the way, a guy brought 8 cashimas for you, but Nigel, obviously you're not there, so you don't know.
I don't understand that.
So let's continue. He really thought you were around.
Nobody could bring anything for me during that time.
It's only
when I leave is when they bring in all the things.
No, he was so happy to see you last week live, you know, and he was like, "Oh, Nigel is here," so he came and he brought it for me. Of all people. Kashima. Anyway, so you're Sonia Williams. So yes, Sonia.
Yeah. I come from the community of Newtown. I was born in Newtown, center of Newtown. I grew up in Newtown. And then somewhere in the 70s, we moved to Citronia. You know, at this time, it wasn't common for, you know, people coming from my family background, you know, poor family, to build a house and that kind of thing. So we stayed in Citronia for a while. And then my dad built his house in Fortney, that house on the corner going up to Eggleston. So I spent my years there. And then I moved out back to Newtown on my own. And then I am now at Castle Comfort, which is where I built my house. I have not lived out of Newtown for any long period of time, except if I go away to a meeting or if I go on holidays, you know, that kind of thing. But I am very proud to be from this community. Up to this day, Newtown is a community where people look out for one another. I must say, though, that there are some faces that are new, alien to Newtown. Because when something happens and somebody asks, do you know that person? And I was like, no, that person just came, man. If I don't know that person. So people have migrated into Newtown. And sometimes when things happen and they say, you see, all you Newtown people like trouble. And I'll say, no, but that person is not from Newtown. You know, so interesting place to live, though. And I can remember Harlem days, Harlem Football Club. I used to be a fan of that Harlem team. There are some of the guys who are still around. Some of them migrated and they came back, you know, and they are here part of the family. But I was born in a family of 10. My parents had 10 of us. There were 6 girls and 4 boys. I'm the third of the 10 children. Now, at that time, in a matter of like 20 odd years, my parents had those 10 children, you know. So you might have just maybe a 2-year difference, and 6 months difference, 9 months, you know. So I keep asking, once I asked my mother, but why are you making all those children? How are you making those children so quickly? You know, because we spoke about it, and she told me, she couldn't steal at the time. Sometimes it's not a lot of sex that giving you a pregnancy. It's one little thing and you catch, you know, so, yes, and you catch. So, as the third girl, there's a boy before me, and we were very close. I was very close to my brother, my big brother. And people thought I was going to be a tomboy because I followed him everywhere. I climbed trees, I fish, you know. I learned to swim once when I almost got drowned in the sea at Newtown, following him on a tube. You remember those days, Nigel? You're too young to remember that. You and Ivonne? You would go out on tube, and we went out, and somebody overturned the tube. I was the only girl with like 4 or 5 boys, and see my brother fighting to save me. and I am trying to learn to swim to get out of that predicament. Eventually, I came in the center of the tube, but by that time, I learned to swim. I could swim very, very well. Now, there were no preschool in my days. You went straight into primary school at 5 years. So I attended the convent primary school at the time, which is now Newtown Primary, and spent my primary school years there, and then went to convent high school. At that time, the nuns were in charge of the school. The Catholic community was in charge of the school. One person I attended school with stands out was Dr. Carissa Etienne. We were at school together. She was 2 years younger than any of us in the class because she got a scholarship at 10. I remember that very, very clearly at 10. And she was a very, very nice person, so she would counsel people even at an early age, and she could cover well for you. If you were her friend, she would chastise you, but she would cover for you. So I remember those things about her. The convent high school, you had to be Catholic for you to be in that, according to what you say, Poto, Catholic, to be in that. And we learned all the religious things there. That is why up to now, you cannot, shy away from those things if they have been ingrained in you. So that Catholicism was ingrained in me. I was in all society, Young Christian Workers, Young Christian this, Legion of Mary, and all that kind of thing. And we had an obligation to the church because we used to have to go to the church to clean, to do whatever, even as we were growing up in convent for second, third form, and so on. And it was very interesting. Now,
Pause a second, Sonia.
Yeah.
Pause a second before you continue in convent. I want to run back a little bit to the early time in Newtown in Charlottesville, and you running around with all the boys and everything else. What was it like? I mean, in the community then, was it because I'm thinking there probably were not as many homes and houses as there are now, and you probably had more space to run around and so what was it like for you at that time? Was it like
there was
open space?
There were less houses now, but there were more people then.
Less houses now. Interesting. Less houses now.
No, more houses now.
Okay, but
yes,
okay.
more houses now, but less space and more children. So you'd have a family. I lived in a yard. That is just before you take the first bridge at Newtown going up to Kings Hill.
Okay.
I lived in a yard there, and there were a number of families living in that yard, in 1-bedroom houses, in 2-bedroom houses. Actually, I grew up in that yard with people like Honorable Ambrose George. His family was there, and each family had a lot of children. So it's not like now you have 1 or 2 children. You had 6 children, 8 children, 10 children, in that one yard. The thing about it is the people at the time looked out for the children who lived there. So there was nothing you could do and escape. Somebody would bring a story, true or not, to your parents, and you got a beating for that. Because at that time, the grown-ups were always right. Not like now, children young people get a chance to defend themselves. And let's face it, at that time, you couldn't talk back to an adult. No matter what they tell you, and don't go and tell your parents that that lady told me that, they would not believe you. The grown-ups were always right at the time. I am reflecting now and I realize that wasn't a good thing for us growing up at the time. Because unless you were somebody who was brave and bold, you kept in your shell for fear of being, punished by your parents without even doing something that was out of the way, according to how it was said. Any little thing that you did, it was held against you because you were a child and you had to be subservient to the adults around you. You couldn't, the kind of words I hear when I pass around in my community, there was a time when I was growing up, you couldn't say that. You had to respect everybody. Not even if your parent had a problem with another adult, it wasn't your business. You had to be the child in that situation and let the adults deal with it. But one other thing, I think the young people, the children at the time, respected one another. Because you would bathe in the sea. Some children were not allowed to go to the sea. Some of us, we escaped, we did those things. Went to the sea, had to open our clothes to dry, because you couldn't go back home with the wet clothes on you. You'd get a beating for having gone to the sea. So there was that community spirit which we do not really have now. People do not look out for one another as they did in those days. Children were fed. I can remember my mother cooking food and calling all children, because two things I do in my home. I have always love and food. A lot of food, a lot of love I got from my family, my parents. And people looked out for other people's children at the time. Now, I think people, they stick to their own thing, their own homes, their own families, and that kind of thing. You do not see people going on the street and look for children. If a child was missing for about maybe half an hour after the time they were supposed to be in, people would be going out to look for that child. And nothing out of the way happened, and maybe it happened, but it was not. They were not exposed like now, because people keep saying, "Oh, in those days, these things used to happen." Of course, they happen. Young people got pregnant.
It was never really spoken about.
It was never spoken about. It was never exposed, and people were very particular about what they said. So they hid their little family business, and it wasn't brought out in the open like it's happening now.
But there was a. Nigel, even before you go there, I should say what you just said there about people's business and all of that. There was an area called Laku Setlang, in
Newton. Yes.
Nigel, you ever heard about that Laku Setlang?
I've heard about that. I've heard that name. Yes.
What does that tell you?
What was so special about it?
Tell us about that. Yeah.
No, in that area was on the eastern side of a little lower down than your Clem shop is. You know where Clem shop is? Okay. A little lower down there on the eastern side. There was Laku Setlang. Well, it was people used to translate that literally and say those people have 7 tongues. So what they would tell you today, they might what they tell you today, they might not. In fact, what they tell you this morning, they might not tell you in the afternoon. This story will change. And if you wanted a bath or whatever, I hope those people that used to live there to hear and listen to me and comment. they would say, if you want all these stories, go in Laku Setlang. We have some interesting areas, in that place there. But I think Newton has its own history. Newton has its own pluses, because we have a lot of people who did very well for themselves, young people at the time. If you went to high school at the time, you had to be a bright person, a bright child. And because your parents could not afford to give you the luxuries of life. And at that time, trust me, Ivans and Nigel, education was a luxury. It didn't come easy. We wrote the common entrance at the time, and very few children passed that common entrance exam to go to high school. And even when you go to high school, even when you pass the exams, the finance wasn't there for your parents. I can remember when I passed the common entrance, not many of us attended at Convent Primary at the time, and I was like, I don't think my father can afford that, because there were others before me. There were like 7 after me, and they were little, they were small, whatever. And then I can remember this gentleman, Mr. Shillingford, may he soul rest in peace. He said to my father, you have to make the sacrifice and send that child to school. Because if you don't do it, she might hold it against you later down. And I don't think you'd want that to happen. So my father made the sacrifice. No, there was a brother before me who went to grammar school. He went to grammar school. And having 2 children in high school at the time would have been no easy feat. My father was a stevedore, pot worker. My mother was a stay-at-home mom. I can remember my mother knocking one stroke anywhere. I suspect she made the train so quickly, one behind the other, so she had to stay home. I didn't know I never knew my mother having gone to work. But my father was that kind of person. And yes, the gentleman told him, send the child to school so that she will not hold it against you. And this gentleman helped my father in the first year of my high school days to send me to school. And I went to school and I took it very, very seriously, because one thing with my father, education was his top priority. You had to, if you wanted to survive in the world, you had to learn. And I can remember clearly, my father used to buy a newspaper every week, and we had to sit down. My father was a very intelligent person. He just didn't get the chance to develop that intelligence, because again, the history of family, his mother was a single mother, couldn't send him to school. When he reached standard 7, he had to go and get work for him to do so he could help his mother and that kind of things. But he made it his priority. We used to have to read the newspaper. We used to have to listen to the world. My father used to tell us, you cannot be living on an island like Dominica and not know what is happening in your region, like in Windward Islands, in Leeward Islands, that kind of thing. And I can remember, as an adult, my father and I had a conversation, may he so rest in peace, and he told me something. I said, but where did you get that? He said, so your teacher, you're not listening to Situation Room then? And I was like, what is Situation Room? And I learned there's a program that Wolf Blitzer used to have on CNN. And my father followed that program, and he could tell you everything that was going on. My father was the ideal father and husband. I say that all the time. And that's why I keep referring to it, because he taught us a lot of lessons. He had 6 girls. And my father, not that he didn't love his boys, but he used to say if God had given him 10 girls, he would have welcomed the 10 girls. He loved his daughters. And he instilled, certain principles in us that I am still living by today. And when I got ready to leave school, I wanted to be a lawyer. I keep saying that all the time. I really wanted to study law. And people tell me, you'd have made a good lawyer, But it wasn't possible. If it were a time like now, when education opportunities are open and easy, I would have studied law. And I was too young to go into nursing, and I didn't want to go either, because the principal at the time was telling me, maybe you should do nursing. And I tell her, I cannot see people suffer. So I don't think nursing would have been a good thing for me. Because when people cry, I cry with them. So I didn't want to go into that. So she called the principal at St. Martin's School, and I went across there to teach. I was 17 at the time, straight out of high school. That's an
interesting connection and journey so far, man. I'm loving this.
I was 17 at the time.
I'm loving this.
Now, when I went across, I was very, very slim, very small. Now I have weight, but I was very, very slim. As Meg.
You were slim like I would, huh?
Yes. And when I went, the first day I went to school, Nigel and I would have more play with. Those children tell me things. How my foot fit in the high heel. How I cannot, those children tell me. And let me tell you, interestingly, as teaching children, I was just maybe 1 or 2 years older than, These are children that, sometimes.
You were 17 at the time, right?
I was 17. Actually, I started in September and I turned 17 on October 1st. So I was 16. So I had, and I looking at those children, they say, and I went back every day for that first week. I cried. I tell my father, I am not going back to teach. I can't take this stress. And at that time, that movie, To Serve with Love.
And now is your chance, Sonia, for you to call those students. Those are those students that was giving you trouble.
Boy, I know. The big people now, and if they are listening, they will know who they are. But you see, the thing is, I developed a relationship with them. After a week or two, I was like, wait, no. But I must have something more in my brain than all you sitting there in front of me. Otherwise, I would not be the teacher. And those children used to make noise. I'm not hearing myself, they're not hearing me, because I little bit. And they say, oh, that is somebody we can do what we want with. And then I saw that movie, To Serve with Love. I sat down one day and I watched that movie. And I say, okay, I'll be good for you all the time. So when I went to school the next week, they made noise, they jumped. I let them do all what they had to do. And when the bell rang for break, I say, everybody sit down. Now, they had never seen that before, so they were like, wait, something's happening. But anyway, they sat down. And I said, no break for anybody. You all can want to go to the washroom, you're not going out. I don't know, you're not eating snack. Maybe that time it wasn't the best thing to do, but I got results. Because after that, it was like plain sailing with me and teaching. And I enjoyed those years at St. Martin's School. I taught there for a number of years, from 1967 to 1986, 87. Because something happened and I couldn't take the stress. So I decided I don't want to stay there in St. Martin's School. But I had made my mark already. I taught a number of young ladies, bring them up properly, teach them what it is to be independent and that kind of thing. And then I went to when I went to one of the education officials, I said, I don't think I want to stay there, because if I stay there, he said, you're right, Sonia, if you stay there, you will get stuck there because of the situation at the school. So he sent me to Roseau Girls School. I did 1 year at Roseau Girls School, the common entrance class. And I taught a set of bright children. I remember when Annette Phillip was on your program. I taught Annette Phillip at Roseau Girls School. That's you. These children were a whole set of bursaries and scholarships. Daly, who is now PS in
Barbara Daly.
Barbara Daly. I taught her that 1 year at Roseau Girls School. A number of them. And from then, when the education officer said, I'm going to send you to Newtown. I said, Newtown? I said, but I'm from Newtown. That's not going to hold plenty water for me, because when people know you and they're familiarity is contempt, so they might just, But let me tell you, Ivans and Nigel, that was the best thing that happened to me.
At what time did you realize it was the best thing? How many years had to pass?
No, when I went to Newtown.
I know, but...
Yeah, no, on the ball. It was just instant, It was just instant. I went there as a classroom teacher. And there was one time I can remember the principal, she's passed now, may her soul rest in peace, she said to me one time, because Newtown had a reputation, let's face it, we had a reputation in Newtown. Bad children, bad people, that kind of thing. And she said to me, I told her, well, you have to take. She said, I'm not going to interfere with Newtown people children for Newtown parents to come into school and fight with me. That's what she said. I said, well, okay, I'm from Newtown. That's where my roots are. According to a friend of mine, I do not want when I am walking on the street with a stick a few years down the line for some child to kick my stick and say, you didn't do well by me when I was in your class. So I took it on my own, and I really enjoyed my years at Newtown, in the classroom and as a principal. And up till now, I see children, if you say I'm going down the road, I'm going for bread or whatever, I go to church, and they're going to tell you a bad word and they see me coming, they will stop because Miss Williams coming. I don't Miss Williams to hear me. So I made that impression on them, and I am very happy that I did that, because even now, they seek me out, They want somebody to sign a document for them. They want to fill a passport form. They want, to fill a form. They find Sonia Williams. She said, come to my home, and I will do it for them with a good heart. So I command that level of respect, in my community. And I am very happy that I did what I did at the time. Because, and let me tell you, you see young men, they are the most precious things to teach. I taught girls... And I taught boys, but it was a pleasure to me. The boys had a greater level of respect for their teacher than the girls, and I proved it when I went to Teachers College to do my teaching certificate, and I went to Goodwill School to do my practicals for a month, and it was co-ed, mixed boys and girls. And when I was leaving after the month, the boys were crying. Why the teacher going? I said, I told you I was going to be here for a month alone. So. Even when you would think that, people say those young boys, they're rowdy, but depending on how you make you have to put your stamp, and the stamp hasn't got to be something of authority. If you try to stamp authority on people, Ivans and Nigel, you're in trouble. You have to make them respect you, but you do not stamp your authority on people. And like even in our adult life too, if you have a boss who doesn't know how to deal with his or her employees in trouble, you cannot lord it over people. You have to be on a level with them where you understand them, and you have to know where they're coming from, because everybody has a story. Every child has a story. I can remember this little girl who was being molested at home by a man who was supposed to be her, and I want to tell those stories.
And
because
that's sexually molested?
Sexually molested. And she was a little girl, and I used to look at her and say, something is not right with that child. And one day somebody met me and they said, you see that child there? The stepfather, I said stepfather, not her father now, because I think the man was the child's father. And I couldn't get anything from the child because she was maybe 7 years, 7 years. But I took it on my own, and I will say no, I didn't call the police. I didn't call welfare, because I think welfare was taking too much time. I call a friend of mine in the police force, and I tell her I have a concern and I need you to come and check it out. So she came, and that was really happening. And the mother knew, but I used to leave the little child there with the man and go, because he had threatened to kill me after I didn't care. So people have to be able to come to you with their problems and their stories. You cannot solve everybody's problems. You cannot help everybody, but at least the person knows that you are there for them, especially a young person. So we have to empathize with people. As a manager, as a boss, as somebody in charge, you do not let people walk over you. But if you deal with them on a particular level, you will get what you want done. Because up to now, the teachers, I left Newton Primary School in 2008 as principal, and my teachers still tell me, Miss, we're missing you, you know. And it feels good. Miss, and I keep telling them, do not compare people. Like, if you compare people, you have problems. But they still call me if they have a problem. They still talk to me. They, you know, that kind of thing. So I am very happy that I did what I did. And I am very happy that I try to leave a positive influence everywhere I go. Now, mind you, I'm a person, nobody does what they want with me. I'm not a doormat. Nobody walks over me. If it happens, maybe I allow it to happen. But at the same time, I learn how to empathize with people, and I think that is what has brought me along in the world and where I am today. So I stayed there at Newton for principal, and then I think after a while it's time for me to go. But what do I do? I'm not retirement age yet. What do I do? And then I was asked to... Before that, let me backtrack a bit. I was the president of the Public Service Union for 14 years. Only female president. We have not had a female president of PSU since then. I don't know. It's not an easy position, so I suppose the women are afraid to go there. Because you have to have a dash and live. When you put yourself in those positions, you have to have a dash and live back. So what people say, can just they say, yes, you just do bother. You just do what you think is right and let people cast their own aspersions. So I said, yeah, very interesting. 14 years, a lot of things happened, a lot of changes. I will personally say I am not too happy where the DPSU is today. And it has nothing to do with which government you support or which government you don't support. You have to think of the people that you have in your organization and what is best for them. And you will get opposition, people will say whatever, but you stick to your guns. And after a while, I know I had made my mark. I traveled within the Caribbean. I went to England. I went to a place called Kazakhstan, to a meeting for the union. So I learned a lot as the president of the Public Service Union. And people still call me to ask me, well, what do you think I should do if you know, ABC happened on the job and so. So that was an interesting part of my life. And then comes the politics. Yes, I was.
We'll get to that. Nigel, you see that thread? Nigel, you see that thread? You see that tapestry that she's weaving?
Yes, yes. And I'm just sitting back and actually enjoying the journey and learning so much from the journey as well. There's so much to uncover from, you know what I mean? From being on the tube with your little brother to where you are, and of course, you know, heading through, you know, teaching and what they did to you at teaching, and then moving on and how they have the respect for the community. I mean, it's a lot. And that to me is a kind of journey that is a hallmark of a phenomenal woman. But I want to ask you something in terms of Newton at the time. You were going through all those things, teaching there, or even before you were teaching there, when you were teaching at St. Martin and so on and so on. What was happening in Newton at the time? What are some of the, because Newton is also known for, apart from football, you know, you have Thunderbirds and, you know, all the rest of it. What was happening in Newton and made it so vibrant?
Well, you know, Dominicans like bread.
I was just about to say the bakeries.
so we had about 8 bakeries from by Suki, by the Savannah, to go up to reach not too far, a little above the Newton Primary School. There was this guy who did his own, Charlie, who did his own baking of cakes and whatever. So you could always get bread at Newton. Always get bread. That is one of the things we had. We had a lot of fishermen too. A lot of young men and men, you know, adult men went on fishing expeditions. We had something that they call, I remember very clearly, Point de Jour, that is early morning fishing. And those, the fish came in very, very early. The men would go out at 4 o'clock. By 5, 6 o'clock, you had some fish, and you get a fish water. So children at the time, we ate healthy, you know, because we didn't just eat frozen joys and cake and which were the things that, you know, some children liked. We ate fish. So we had the bakery, we had the fishermen. Okay, we had Harlem, the sports club, football, And I don't think any community, although we are hearing so many good things about sports in communities, Harlem has left its mark on the football world, locally and regionally. And then we still have the football academy where our young players, our young boys and girls are being taught how to play the game. We also had storytelling too, was a very important part, integral part of our Newton people always had a story. Whether the stories were made up or whether they were true, but we always had a story. And one of the important things, as I must have mentioned earlier, is that people looked out for one another. They looked out for one another. If something happened, if there was a death, or there was somebody who felt sick, or a child who wasn't being fed, they would be taken care of. I can remember at Newton School, I used to leave the school and go down back on the football world. Locally, they would be taken care of. I can remember at Newton School, I used to leave the school
let me
and
make
go
sure
down.
I correct this. Sorry about this. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I used to leave the school and go down the hill to, if a child is not at school for more than a day, 2 days, I'd go and look for that child. And I can remember Mr. Half telling me, as soon and he sees me passing, Miss Williams going to look for somebody's child. So that kind of caring environment was always there. I'm not sure if it's still there today, because I'm hearing some comments and I'm saying, that was not like in my time. But again, things change, people evolve, and you know, people lose that sense of caring along the way sometimes, I think.
But what were you deeply involved in though around that time? Were you involved in sports, in maybe carnival, the church life? What was happening with Sonia Williams as part of the community?
Well, I think I was a staple in the community. I'm a staunch Catholic. I mean, there's not everything I agree with, but and as I grew older, I began to put things in perspective and say, well, I'm hearing that, but maybe that is not so. So I put my own, thing into it and so. But I run with Thunderbirds for a couple of years. I used to have competitions at the school especially, so children could, bring out their talents and whatever. And we used to have, like Christmas time, we used to have, it was like a family thing that everybody shared whatever they had with people. One very outstanding thing about Newton people, they love to share. And I think we have lost that thing, but it's still, you'll still find people who will find out if that child has eaten or not. Newton, we used to, I think alcoholism was one of our problems. You would pass early morning and the shop open and couple partners are taking a drink. That was a normal thing to happen at Newton. No, you pass, you still see them, but it's not the drink alone they take. Other things happening there. But we had a lot of little rum shops there too. They used to call them speakeasy at the time.
Speakeasy?
Speakeasy. Those like rum shops where the people would go and take a shot of rum. Early morning, I used to say, but why these people how they can drink alcohol that early morning? But that was a staple in their diet, Ivans and Nigel.
Easy, Nigel. That's interesting.
Yes,
when you drink a lot, your tongue gets heavy, lang lu. So the speak easy and the lang lu, that's paradoxical.
You have to go in and get the speakeasy for your lung to get lu. So that is how it is. But apart from that, we had a lot, and the place has changed. You used to have a lot of fruit trees, guava, mango. We used to get up and early morning, children getting up from their bed 4 or 5 o'clock and go and pick up mangoes. It's not like, no, you're not buying no mango for $5, People would have a lot of mangoes and just share it out. You give the neighbors some mangoes, you see the person on the road, you just used to ask for mangoes, guavas, turnips. We had coconuts. We had a lot of that. Where Roll Estate is there, up above the Fatima Church there. There was a fruit paradise. All children used to go there and take their fruit. Even in the river, where I already eat a lot of mealie and book. Children used to go and collect their fish in the river. And at that time, the river, Livia Kanawi, what we do as Livia Kanawi, was a real river. It was a real river, big river, where people used to go and wash their clothes. At that time, not many houses had running water. So everybody used to go to the river with their basin of clothes on their head and roll their clothes on a stone. So it was a whole day. Going to the river was a whole day affair. You bring food or you cook the food by the river and you wash and dry the clothes at the same time. So everybody, and it was a number of people. You wash your clothes, put it to dry, stay the whole day, then fold your clothes and you're ready to go home after you catch the river fish and maybe get a hand of fig on a fig tree growing just, around the area. So interesting times. These things are not happening anymore because everybody has wash machine and running water and clotheslines and that kind of thing.
I mean, but do you feel like, I mean, those times that kind of help to build a community spirit and help to build the fact of looking out for each other and one big happy family kind of a thing? Now we kind of isolated because we had our homes in our own thing.
Yeah. Well, you see, we didn't have television at the time. I mean, I'm a TV freak, I watch TV I watch TV all the time. So we didn't have all the modern equipments that we have today. We didn't have it. So children used to have to go outside and skip and play marbles and play hopscotch and climb fruit trees and do those things now. And I think we, in a sheltered environment now, people are afraid to just let their children go on the street, because of what's happening. And I'm not saying that it wasn't happening. It may have been happening and we were not aware. But nowadays, people don't live there. People don't want to leave their homes. We hear of the different incidents that happen, and we say, but don't people think? Don't you think before you act and that kind of thing? So people stay in their homes. I think it's safer. I think it's the safety we're looking at.
The safety now,
safety now.
What about it? Because I mean, we of course are mourning the loss of Fitzroy Williams, and so on. So in terms of the music that was in the house or you grew up with, was it the time of Exile One, Cardass, Calypso? What was happening for you?
No, when I grew up, it's love songs we knew.
Love songs.
And country and western.
So Jim Reeves was in the airwaves.
Jim Reeves and love songs and country and western. Okay. We didn't know, things like our cultural music came in late on the scene. Because, I've lived on the earth for a good number of years now, Ivans and Nigel. I may look, whatever people tell me, you look young, but I have been there for a while, And these things came on the scene after I became an adult. But at that time, parents were sheltering their children from what is going. Even when you send your children out to some activity, you sit and pray for them to come back in one piece, So we do not have that kind of, everybody will take care of each other, everybody will look out for each other. We didn't have this at the time. So, and we had the cultural thing, because I can remember my mother's from grandma.
So in your home itself, if your dad and there wasn't that kind of music, it was more
especially the Sunday the records.
Yes, record play and you see,
Calypso and Cardass and so on.
No, we didn't have that. And with my father, you had to. His book, that was your friend,
So Dear John and things like that. Send me the pillows and the dream on.
Yes. That's why I know those songs word for word, because I keep hearing them and I learned them growing up, and they were not it wasn't the type of music that could get you excited and that kind of thing. It was very mellow, very soothing. So that is what we knew. And at home, you had to read. Everybody had to have a library card. You had to go to the library and get your book. And there was a little token for who finished reading the book first. So if you do 5 books in a week, you're good to go. That kind of thing. Nowadays...
Just stick up in there. Let me just see if this person wants to share something as you're on the line. Hello, connecting the dots. Hello. Connecting the dots, hello. Okay, so that part of my console is not working properly. So continue, Sonia Williams. We'll see what happens.
Yes, so that is what it was at the time. My mother's from Granby. My mother was a Henderson, and she didn't grow up there, but she was, and that wasn't the family thing, because people like Addie is related to me. Then you have a whole set of these people. They had a tradition, and up to now, they want to keep that tradition going, because there's nothing that beats a good piece of Jinping or a good piece of Bele, in spite of all what we have. But the culture at the time, and the culture was ingrained in people. they were happy to be a part of it. And well, I'm not sure when it's Independence time we see it surfacing, but I'm not sure how much of it is being maintained throughout the year. And I think we are seasonal people here. We do things according to seasons. When the season not there, we're not in it. That kind of thing.
Yes, let me just, Nigel, are you looking at the comments on the book?
But I have no access to the book.
Oh, you have no access to the book. Okay, let me see if I can just shout out a few comments.
By the way, I can't see you again, man. You gone, man? You disappear,
okay. No. Okay. No, I was just going for the book. Let me just get some of the comments. By the way, a lot of people are on. Hetty Lawrence, Alvin Thomas, Marvin Brady, so many people are on. And so let me get some comments.
Of course, I know Sonia and Alvin worked for,
Yeah, that's my friend.
Oh, yes.
That's my friend,
Yeah, we have to go there. We have to go back to the PSU days. But yes, Marvin Brady, okay, Hetty Lawrence, a body... is white, very white. It's a palm say that they burn to make ash. The ash. Okay, so that was earlier on. Somebody was replying in terms of what was used, what ash was used, where the ash came from. Really, I think Carl Kofi James is on, Roslyn Several Macklin is on as well. Shirls Joe says you did an excellent job with us at St. Martin's School. Jennifer Gordon says, Sonia, my girl, great program. Alma Labad Harris, I love my teacher, Miss Williams. Thanks for all the love you gave me. God bless you. Sandra Norris is saying, good morning, everyone, Nigel, Miss Williams. Alvin is there. It's like a mother-son relationship. Boys will show more affection. So I guess that's when Sonia was talking about the boys. Right. Nigel, so it's busy. Jokam is on as well. And quite a few people are on and giving comments, and really enjoying what Sonia Williams is saying.
I mean, I always go back after and read through the comment. Today is one of the days I really have to go back because I have no access to what's happening right now in the outside world.
Yes, comments
so it's one of those times.
But it's really an interesting story, and well, Sonia understands the assignment. I mean, she's just going through and effortlessly and and we're just absorbing this.
The connection that's being made.
We're just absorbing this.
How we got there and all the rest.
Yeah,
of it.
It says so much. It says so much about who she is, and you see the correlation. You see from where she came. So many siblings. Yes, her father left school at standard 7. She said. And of course, he has to take care of the family. She never saw her mother working. So Nigel, we're just going through this, and this is an interesting story.
We're going through the nice journey.
Really interesting.
What about the church, though, Sonia? I know you said the church was. Did you find at the time that the church was, I guess, more respected or had a bigger influence on the community?
Let me just backtrack a little bit.
People were afraid the priest would shake his gong and kind of things.
Well, I think at that time, people had more respect for religious people. At the convent high school, the nuns, we had a few lay teachers, but the nuns were there. And at that time, I see certain things happening at convent that would not happen when I was there. And again, times change, so we expect those things to happen. But you had to be a Catholic to be in a Catholic school. Now, the doors are open to everybody, and I have no difficulty with that because sometimes you get no problem. You get more problems from the Catholics than you get from the non-Catholics because they want to be in the school, so they will follow the rules and regulations of the school. I grew up in church. My parents didn't used to go to church, but they would send us to church. You had to go to church. And I couldn't understand in my mind as a young person growing up, why is it those people just harassing me? Get up and go to church, but they're in their beds and they're not moving. But you had to go. And I think it was because you go into a Catholic school, you have to do Catholic homework, you have to do whatever. So go to school, go to church. So I went to church religiously. And up to now, if I do not have a sound reason, I will be at church on a Sunday morning. I do not agree with everything that is happening in Catholic Church. No, I'll be very honest with you.
You're selective.
Huh?
You're selective.
Yes, okay. I am. Because a friend of, and again, I have to be careful how I say it. I cannot understand, and I'll be very honest. You're in a society in church. What, they have a lot of them. And you sit down there in a meeting, you talk, you whatever. But right in the meeting, I don't like Ivona, I don't like Nigel, But Nigel thinking he has to be in everything. And Ivona, and I cannot deal with that on church. I think we have to learn to separate church and state. Church is church. If you are in a church organization, you have to be open and upfront. And sometimes that's why I'm not in any organization in the church, because I'm a person, I say how I feel, and people tend to have difficulty with me. I used to be a catechist.
You're a person, you're not involved in any organization again?
In the church, no.
Wow.
The only thing I do is if they need me to do commentary and read at church, I do that. I taught catechism for years. I taught First Communion catechism. I taught Confirmation catechism.
How many years you like for me, I know I started at the age of 15 and I left at the age of about 45. So I stayed there 30 years teaching,
Yeah, I must have done the 30
and I could
years.
not have done all
I must
this
have done
again.
more than 30 years, and
I think maybe we would have done more.
Yes,
I started, of course,
yes.
at the cathedral because I was on back
You were there.
But
when the Fatima Church was built, I think it's so many years. That church stayed as a playing ground for Newton children for a long time. The foundation was there on the platform, and when the priests, when they were building, the father strikers had fallen from the roof and break his leg or whatever, and then it had come to a standstill. So it took some time before we built the church. The church is a beautiful building, but church should not be building alone. And I have that tendency. I find myself in problems all the time. People bring your name, go for the priest not asking a question. People...
So Nigel, you understand why I said Sonia is not laconic. She's not briefly food. She will tell you exactly what she has to say. She'll move on, obviously.
Sonia like Tasha P.
No, it's true, Sometimes, let me tell you, sometimes people want you to say what they want to hear. Mm-hmm. I cannot do that. I also want to say I do not belittle people. I do not make anybody feel any less of a person. But I'll put you straight. So something might happen and I will say what I have to say and people are not pleased about it. So I think I have no problems with, I maintain relationship with priests until they get on my wrong side, Because I look at things happening generally in the church and I don't think that's how it should happen. You and I will say that you cannot be in a church ministry, in a church society, and people come and they tell me, what's happening in that. What I say, go and tell the priest. Don't tell me. I cannot change it. So you talk to the person who can change it.
Who can change it?
I also say to Nigel and Ivans that priests are human. Gone are the days when we used to think priests and nuns come out from heaven and fall down. We're not believing that again. They are human. We expect them to fault like we do. But at the same time, I always say, if you put yourself in a position, it's because you have to be able to live up to that. If you're a priest, you're a priest. If you're a teacher, you're a teacher. If you're a nurse, you're a nurse. There are certain qualities that people should have for them to be in certain professions and certain, that kind of thing. Right, so I taught catechism for years. And
we have so much to cover for Sonia because we have to talk about politics part of it. We have to talk about, the role that she played. But going back to the DPSU and your turn there as the president of the DPSU at the time, when you were there, did you see yourself as, boy, this is the first woman president of DPSU, and you're creating a lane or a way for women to be in positions which at that time wasn't really there, apart from Dame Eugenia Charles. We didn't really have many women in those kinds of positions. Was it more like a burden for you? Was it a challenge? Was it something that you enjoyed? What was it like at DPSU serving as president?
Oh, I enjoyed my term as president. I enjoyed those 14 years. I really had a great time working with the executive members. There were, when I came in, as the only female there when I came in as president, and then we had 2 or 3 others on the executive committee. At that time, though, and I will say it, with no apologies, people were saying, but what's she doing there? She's a woman. At that time, though, they would say that. But my male counterparts and my friend Alvin will tell you, he left maybe soon after I came in. But things went very well because sometimes a woman is the voice of reason in an organization, in the family, and yes, and I'm not discriminating against my brothers and my male counterparts and so anywhere, anyhow, in any shape or form. But experience has taught me that a woman usually has the voice of reason. And that manifested itself a lot in my term as president of the DPSU, because there are certain things that would probably have not gone the way they went if I wasn't there to, put my 2 cents. Another thing is, when you are in certain positions sometimes, you handle the politics, because everybody I supported a particular, Eugenia Charles was my mentor at the time. She was in leadership, and there were some things about I wasn't too comfortable with, and that's another thing I want people to understand. If we are in a society, we shouldn't go out and malign and bad talk and criticize. Do all what you have to do as part of the organization. Mm-hmm. And I can praise myself. My loyalty knows no bounds. That is why, Nigel, if you're my friend and you do something that you shouldn't do, I'm not going to tell Ivans that's what Nigel did. I will say, Nigel, why did you do that? You should not have done that. Some people get vexed with me for that, because I have sat down at meetings and I say, no, but we can't do that. How are you going to do that? Have you looked at the implications? Have you? And they say, oh, there you go again. And I went through that a lot. And even though I support the Dominican Labour Party, there's no if, but, or maybe about it, I will not go in open and blast my leaders, or I'll not do that. I do not agree with everything they do or say, but I will find the proper forum to do it. And I think life would be different if we would do it that way. So instead of somebody coming and tell you, Nigel, Sonia said that, I say, but Sonia tell me already, I know how Sonia thinks about that. I think that is how it should be. Now, I am not a perfect human being. I keep telling people that all the time. I am not a perfect human being. There are some things I do and I say, but Sonia, you shouldn't have done that. Maybe it's for the best, but you shouldn't have done that. You should have taken the feelings of the other person. But sometimes you have to be brash and open for people to understand where you're coming from. So as president of PSU, I worked well. I worked well with everybody on the executive and the membership. And the reason for that is, I think, because I knew how to get along and pour water on a fire. You can't fan a flame every time. You have to be able to make sure you break it down. Because sometimes when you're angry, you say things that you can't take back. And these things are detrimental. So you have to be careful what you say, in what frame of mind you are when you are speaking to people. So you do not make them feel bad, you do not belittle them. So I stayed there and I enjoyed all those years. I met a lot of people, different organizations. And at that time it was very strange, because within the Caribbean, you didn't have female presidents of those organizations there. It was a male-dominated area. For that matter, sometimes you'd go to a meeting in a Caribbean Public Service Association meeting, and it's only a set of men sit around the table. Sometimes 2, 3 women. Sometimes you're alone. And, and I used to say, boy, the time will come when I will come and maybe say a 50-50 or a 45-55, that even a 45-65, so that we can see the women making their contribution, because women have great contributions to make. Some of them are not as bold and brazen as I am, and but I know sometimes you have to go to this particular person and ask them what's happening. I listen to Ivona sometimes, and I'm wondering, is that the same Ivons I knew growing up?
Is that me?
Huh?
Like me?
Like you. Like you.
Whoosh.
And I wonder, that's the same Ivon, because I know Ivon's long time growing up, but she has evolved.
There's that same little quiet, shy.
Not that little quiet. You know what I'm saying? I say that all the time. I say that all the time. I listen to her.
Yeah, she come out of her shell there.
You know what I'm saying? I listen to her sometimes, and sometimes it's good to give people their flaws. And I say, that is the Ivona. That is the Ivona I knew. And I feel good about it. When I see a woman doing something, I feel good about any woman who can come out and make their contribution, their positive contribution. And that is what I do along the way. I help. I say, you think you should be in that, because you would do better than that. And so I stayed there, and then I resigned from as president of the PSU. It was a sudden resignation in 2005, was it? And up to now, Nigel and Ivons, I have not said why.
Wow.
And
until today?
No, I'm not even saying why today.
Oh, okay.
No, because
I thought you were going to connect the story. But...
No, that is. Let me tell you something. With my personality, I know I like a lot of story, whatever. But I am very, very careful what I say. But the hurtful thing about it, I was never asked why. From the people whom I expected to ask, why did you resign? Because it was like, enough, tonight, I wrote the letter, blah, blah, and drop it in the next day. And even Curtis Matthew tried to get a story from me. Why did you resign? And I have not told anybody up to this present.
And you never created any story? You never said...
No, I never made a story. Yeah. People call, why did you whatever? And up to now, I still have a good relationship. I mean, I don't go there long, but I still have a relationship with Mr. Lenten. I'm not sure of I'm not even sure who are the others on the executive.
But you worked with people like Alvin Thomas, right?
Yes, I worked with Alvin. Alvin and I are still good friends today. We did a lot of things. I think he's listening, viewing. At that time, the union began to see things differently. It began to see things differently. My thinking has always been, you represent people, you have to do what is best for these people. And it is not easy to represent public officers. It's not an easy thing at all. Because you see the politics we're trying to run away from, the politics plays a pivotal role in everything that happens in this country. We have not yet learned to say, okay, I am supporting this party, but maybe it's better to do things that way for the good of community, for the good of country. I don't think we have reached that stage yet. So that is why sometimes I take a seat back. I have served on different...
But let me ask you a question, though, about, as we're talking about the public service union, trade unionism really in Dominica. And it would be remiss of me not to ask you that. So I'm talking about the umbrella body, which has eluded us for too long, the Trade Union Congress. What are your views on this? Do you think we should abandon the idea or not even go back there because the train has left already?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Or do we look at this as something that is maybe pivotal to the success of trade unionism?
You see now, I ask myself that question. Do we really need a trade union congress? Mark you, the trade union movement should not die, It just shouldn't die. But again, you see that thing we call personality? We put our own personality into everything that we do, and we forget the real reason why we are doing it. I attended a number of meetings for the formation of that Trade Union Congress. And Brother Curtis Augustus, may his soul rest in peace, he was a stalwart in the trade union movement. But a saying, you have plenty chiefs and you don't have enough Indians? I think that's what happened. Too many people wanted to lead the Trade Union Congress. My trade union has to be the overall... we didn't have that thing. Okay, we're coming together, let us choose the best person. Who is the person who is most knowledgeable, who has the most experience, who can do the job well? And it's not only in Dominica, because I am not hearing much about Trade Union Congress in the other Caribbean islands.
But was it the person or the organization that would lead? Because we had quite a few trade unions here. So if we had a trade union congress, who would have led this? Was it a person, or was it one of the organizations? Or probably we have to go back to the person because the person at the helm. I don't know.
Well, how it should have happened, or how it was supposed to happen, is you would come together. You have maybe 5-6 trade unions in the country. Not because the PSU has the most members that it must be leadership rule. Because you have some trade unionists who are not in any position, and they are very good trade unionists. But people were looking at, is my thing, so I have to be leading, and I don't care who get vexed when I say that. I have to lead because I came up with the idea, or I have the most members, my union is more effective, so I have to lead. We could not sit down and rationally say, if we're looking for a trade union, if we're looking for a leader of the trade union Congress, it has to be Nigel Francis, because A, B, C, D, and E. So that's the best person. We were not going down that road. It was like people wanted, is Medad come up with the idea, is Medad have the biggest trade union, my trade union is more effective. So and we met and we went over that thing over and over again, until eventually, I think I was getting too old for that. I said, I can't live that again. Because nothing was happening. Nothing was happening. And if we had a trade union congress in Dominica, I think workers would have been more organized. You'd get more from employers, because there are some people working without a union, you know. And this is a very dangerous thing, for you to be working without trade union representation. And people can say what they want. You need an organization to represent you, to talk to your employer, because some people can never see who they're working for, you know. You never get an audience with who you're working for. So the trade union is a very, very good entity, but I'm not sure where it's at now, because I'm hearing certain things, and sometimes I wonder, but why do we do that? And you see, sometimes you volunteer, you have the experience, but nobody wants you back in their thing, because it's their thing. They don't want you back in it. So even if, as a person who has that experience, I'll say, well, let me maybe go and give the people a day, 2 days or whatever. People don't want you in their thing. So I am staying out of the people's thing.
By the way, Nigel on the live joke is on. He says he just came home from the supermarket for the Jodila. And he's saying, oh, Mary Benjamin is on as well. So quite a few people are on. Just want to hail you, all of you on the live.
Yes, and of course, thank them for always connecting with us. We always appreciate it. So, third part for Sonia Williams now. We move from education, we went to union, and now politics.
Politics.
How you end up in that?
Well, let me tell you, I since at the time of Charles Savre, I was a very active trade union member. I was not an executive. I was an ordinary member, and I was in all sorts. Anything that happened, and when people do it, they're calling on you, You know, Sonia, we have to do that, so we need you, whatever. So I was very involved. I went for the 1977, 74, 47-day strike. I went for all the overthrow, and I was in it doing like as if, you know. So I enjoyed that aspect of it. And one day somebody called me, that was in early 2008, and the person told me, what do you think of going in Parliament? I said, Miss Sonia Williams, I don't want to go in Parliament. Yeah, we need a Senate and whatever. So I was approached. It sounded interesting and exciting, so I decided, okay, I will give it a chance. So that is when I went. I got appointed senator in June of 2008. In November of 2008, something happened in government, whatever, and the Prime Minister was looking for a Minister for Education, and I was approached, and at first I was kind of apprehensive. I was like, do I really want to go into that at this time? But I saw the need for it, so I went in there. Very interesting.
But why were you questioning why you should go into it? Because of like women? Or maybe more women were treated. What was happening that maybe clouded your vision?
The political climate at that time wasn't very healthy. No?
Okay, right.
It's still not healthy up to this day, but it wasn't really healthy because it was a time like you found yourself involved in something. People don't understand that politics is a part of life, so they want to tell you who you must support, where you must go, what you must do, and then they get personal. My personal life has been dragged to the gutters because of politics. It's just because I'm not a very thin-skinned person, and I do not take on people when they say, you know, there's a post that everybody knows about. I'm always featuring on that one, but I don't care. And once I stand on principle, I will do what I have to do.
So you took up the offer, and
yes, it was very interesting. You know, I made some very good friends, not from in the political directorate, but the people I served at the time. There are some people who will tell you, wait, not for Miss Williams, I would not be where I am today. There's this particular doctor, I'll not call her name, I have to tell her, stop calling my name, because she says, if it were not for me, she would not have completed her studies and be the doctor she is today. I get that from there's a certain PS2 who at the time wanted to finish a course of program. At that time, the minister could use his or her discretion and, lend the support. And I have not regretted doing that with the people I did that for, because they have not forgotten that. I am not, let me tell you, politics is a very taxing thing. It's a very taxing thing. I'm not sure, and I'm saying that openly, if I would make a good pal rep. And a good pal rep would probably be somebody who has to say yes to constituents, yes to government, yes to whatever. And I like to put things in perspective and deal with everything on its merit. So somebody might come to me and ask me for something and I say, no, you can't get that. I'd rather give it to the person whom I know personally cannot, but you can. So leave it for somebody who cannot. That doesn't work in our politics of today. Everybody wants their slice of the cake, and everybody wants the biggest slice. I cannot deal with that. And I'll say it openly. I don't usually ask people for anything of theirs, So that's why I can talk when I have to talk. Some of us are overdoing it. And some of us must learn to love people and love our... We have some very good politicians, You have some people who are good at heart as politicians. And I have dealt with Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit over a period of time. And I'm not saying he's perfect, but he's a good person. And people will kill me for saying that, but I will say it. And honestly, I don't think he's getting the support that he needs for him to do what he has to do. And that's why I do not envy his position. Because some of us are not genuine. And if it were not for cut matter, I'd probably call names. Are not genuine in what we do.
Yes, sir, Papa. Nigel.
You know what I'm saying?
You're connecting today.
No, but Nigel and I once have had the experience. I have had experience when people have treated me badly. And I do not deserve to be treated badly. And I'm a person, I do not beg. And if I know well, and most times I'm not asking for me, I asking for somebody. Most times I ask for people. People come to me. And I must say too, I work very well with my parliamentary representative. Very well. I always tell the young lady, you have to think of your family. And because let me tell you, being in those seats there is not easy. Because you have some people, it's me, me, me. Everything has to be me, me, me. Things can't work like that. You need how many persons to give you a vote at the end of it. So, and it is not possible to give everybody everything they ask for. That is just not possible. But some of us, we do not understand that. And I make no apologies for saying that. I am accustomed to getting my blows. We do not understand that you cannot be taking and not living for somebody else to get. No, that is why I probably will not be a politician on the books, because I'll tell you I can't do that for you. I'll tell you it can't be done. Some of them can't say that, because how you going to upset a constituent by saying no, you cannot, but I can do that as Sonia Williams. So maybe I would not have been a good politician in that sense. I think I would have been able to use my experiences and my expertise to help people, because that is, if you know me well and you talk to people, they will tell you. I try to help as many people, Ivans and Nigel, as I possibly can. Personally, I do not blow any trumpet. I do not say who I give. I do not say who come to me. Because I think if somebody comes to you, it's not for you to share with the world. There are things you have to keep, under the wraps. So, and politics is becoming very nasty. Very, very nasty. The kind of things people say about me, what have I done to people for them to put me in a category that I don't know what they're talking about? And but again, I have a dash and live back, so I don't worry. People say, you're not coming out in that. I say, no, I'm staying in it. Let them say what they want about it.
In terms of, because I mean, it's Women's History Month. We've seen a rise of women in politics compared to what it was back then. You were talking about, the 40, 50, 40, 60, when you went to different meetings as a union rep and so on. But we now have a number of women involved in politics and being part of it. is that a good thing? Because I know you say having a woman in there always seems to help strike a nice balance. Are you going to encourage women to get into politics? Do you think that women being in politics really has a positive impact?
I think it has. We have some very, you see, you have some very strong women, and I really want to commend those strong, phenomenal women out there. We hear it all the time. But I still think, and with all due respect to my brothers out there are some men who think that a woman shouldn't be in A, B, and C. They still think that way. So they try to give you a hard time when you're in there. But then you have to be focused, and you have to be strong, and you have to be able to hold your own, especially if you know you're a strong woman. You know, like, how you want to tell somebody like me that I shouldn't do what I know is right? How do you tell that to me? Or how do you encourage me, let's say Sonia Williams, to do something that I know to be wrong? It wouldn't work. And people know me like that. So that's why some of them are vexed with me. They vex with me, you know. Our brothers out there, I have support from the women. I think 95% of women support other women when it comes to those things. I think the support is there. But the men, my brothers out there, just cannot say, don't put that woman there. You can't do that. We have a voice. And sometimes we have the majority, you know. Sometimes we inside there and it's with the women that can let the boat sail smoothly without rocking it, you know. That's why I say a woman's the voice of reason. And right. I will still say that there are some men who are not too happy about women like me. They're not too happy because you can't do what you want with me. So you'll tell me that is a green cloth. And if I see in the other color, I have to say it's green. No, I'll say it as I see it. And there are some men, their egos are so big that they can't deal with that. You know, they can't deal with it. And if we as women do not want to be hypocrites, we can say that, you know. We don't have to say who, but I mean, we know these things happen. That some men feel threatened because a woman can do it better than they can.
Interesting, Nigel. Interesting.
That is life, you know.
Interesting.
And they will try their utmost to make sure that woman stays where she is. Another thing, some of us women are women's own enemy, you know. Some of us, maybe we're not in the majority, but some of us women cannot see our sisters move forward. They have to find a way to, according to the old saying, dirty your name or say things about you or whatever. But I want to encourage women out there. Once you have it, then use it. Once you find there's a way that you can help somebody, help that person. And I do not discriminate against people because sometimes the person you think that has nothing to offer, if you work well with that person, you will find that person has so much to give. It's just that the person has not been encouraged. Not everybody like me. I according to the saying, I like Tete, I do vin. But some people will wait to be asked. So you have to identify the persons who are waiting to be asked, who has what it takes to help you to fulfill your plan.
What are your views on like women abuse and child abuse as well, the age of consent and things like that?
Well, honestly, if somebody asks me for the age of consent, I might say 21 and I might get people vexed. But I don't think a child of 16, that's the age of consent we have here. They put it to 18 now. 16. To me, we even have people my age that need people to look after them.
I'm not laughing.
I know I laugh at once because it's not fair what some women have to go through. I went through a hard time. I had a very bad experience. People talking about domestic violence, I can relate to domestic violence, you know. And even when I shared at Lelander's forum she had on International Women's Day, people were saying, Sonia Williams.
Oh, you mean recently?
Yeah.
Oh, you were one of the guests?
Yes, okay. I was I was a panelist on
that.
And I shared on domestic violence because the thing is, and I want to let women out there know that there is no shame in the game. That if you are being abused, my sisters, say it. Find somebody to talk to. I had a very strong family support. My family was always there for me. So that is why I could deal with it. But I know how difficult it is. I know that some women are going through hell from their partners, from husbands. And I'm looking, I was sitting on the panel and I'm looking above my head and I say, well, I know that woman is going through hell for her husband, you know. And sometimes I want to take the matter for my own because I went through it. But the thing about it, I had a very strong family support. I have 4 brothers there. They would kill for their sisters. So I used to try to prevent that from happening. And then I say, Sonia, you need to get out of that. The kind of person you are, you have prestige, people respect you, you have to get out of that. So I found a way and I got out of that. And I promised myself that I was never, ever going to give a man the opportunity to abuse me. Whether physically, well, the physical part of it wasn't too bad. I like to run, so as soon as I see the hand raised, I'm running. But the emotional abuse is terrible, very, very terrible, and the verbal abuse, worse yet. And I went to encourage my sisters out there, find somebody to tell. There must be somebody you know who can help you deal with that situation. No woman, Ivons, I'm not even addressing Nigel, Ivons, no woman should be in a position where a man treats you badly, especially if you're an independent woman. And I developed that after that horrible part of my life, I developed that independence and I promised myself it ain't gonna happen again.
What about women who abuse men?
Well, it's on a smaller scale.
It happens, you know.
Of course I know it happens. I know it happens. I've had to deal with yes, I've had to deal with couple.
Nigel, I'm speaking for the men as well, eh?
Yes, let me tell you, there are some women. There are some of us, when it comes to that, we're terrible. Some of us are terrible when it comes to that, because I've seen men cry, you know. I have seen men cry. That's why I say to I have 4 brothers, 3 of them are married. And I say to my sisters-in-law, if you do not love my brother again, leave him. But they have good wives there. But they are good men. When it comes to that, they are good men. I know, I can vouch for them. I even said, my father may make free roti or whatever. But they are good men.
All they will say yes, baby. That's
She said,
they just say yes, baby.
Yes, baby.
Yes, baby.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, baby. I myself used to answer everybody, yes, baby. No, I stopped that, you know. When anybody that talk to me, yes, baby, okay, I stop that. No, some men really go through it. Yes, some men. It's maybe, and it's maybe on a larger scale, Ivans and Nigel, than we know. Maybe on a larger scale. Of course, I've spoken to a couple of men and they tell me whatever. I say, well, I can advise you as to what to do. But it's not a healthy environment for somebody to be in. And so I'm an independent person. I take care of myself as I want. So I promise myself I don't want marriage, I don't want man, I just want nobody in my life. Because I get up and, you see where I sit down there? When I leave there, I can go and lie down in my bed again, you know, and sleep for the next 2 hours before I have to go to a meeting this afternoon. I cook when I feel like. I'm not saying, and as I said to the women at the forum, I'm not saying that everybody has to be like that. That's not possible. And again, I was looking for maybe a husband in my father, because my father was a good husband. He was an ideal husband and father. I keep saying that all the time. And if saying it could bring him back to life, it would bring him back. I tell people all the time, and all 10 of us can say that. So maybe I was looking for my father too in men, and I couldn't see. You know, so I said the best thing, and I would like to advise women, if it not working, leave it alone. Especially if you're an independent woman that can fend for yourself and take care of yourself, and you know, just, so all of us were not meant to have husbands, especially husbands that will treat us. We were not meant to have men that will treat us, because some men, with all due respect to you, Nigel, my brother, some men, boy, they're terrible, eh? Oh yes, they're terrible. I know things that happen, and I say, but how can a man do that? Why should a man do that? So we always have to be talking to the women out there. I want to empathize with you. Those of you who are going through it, it's not an easy thing to get out of. Some of us, I am lucky I came out of it unscathed. I have no regrets. I do not sit down and say, but if I had known, I have done things differently. I'd have done it the same way. I would not have done things differently for me to be enjoying the few years that God gave me, how many years He gave me to live again after, I got out of that situation. So, and again, I also want to say to the people who are supposed to be listening to those women, it's not a bath you get in. So if somebody comes to you, and we do that, somebody comes to you and they're hurting, they have a problem, you shouldn't go and tell it to the world. The person came to you, the person trusts you.
But,
yes, I won't.
No, so just tell me this.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
But I also I'm looking at the time as well. I don't want to rush you. I like where we are. But I want to go back to school days. Of course, you as an educator for many, many years, not just at one institution. You went to different schools. I mean, obviously things have changed, but some things maybe should remain the same, or at least we can bring back some of the things that we had. What do you really miss? I mean, you're not a teacher again, but obviously you know about the school system. What do you think that we should probably keep? Some people say civics and things like that.
Yes, I agree with that. I agree with those things. One of the things, though, I always hope would have stayed was the junior secondary program. JSP. That program did a lot for young people who did not make it at common entrance level. Not making it at common entrance level doesn't mean that you're not a bright person or you couldn't learn. We have what you call late learners, and I always maintain that. My last sister was a very late learner. So there are people who will, when they reach grade 7, grade 6, they wouldn't pass the common entrance. But give them a couple years in that primary school setting and they will do well. So that is one of the things I feel that we should have kept the junior secondary program. Because if you were to carry out a survey, you would find a lot of the people we have in good positions came from the JSP. They came from the JSP. Some of them went to high school from the JSP into third form and fourth form and did very well at CXC and GC. So that is something I hope somebody from education listen. I've tried to say that, but nobody taking me on.
By the way, look, something I missed. Karim Bertrand is saying she needs to talk about her amazing cooking skills and those famous $10 house parties. Well, I know about the cooking skills, but the $10 house parties, I can't remember going to one though.
No, you were too young for that.
You can always come back to it,
Let me tell you, $10 party was big party. I used to live in a house in Newton, a 1-bedroom house. So that the little drawing room there, the bedroom, the kitchen was outside, whatever. But we used to have $10 party. Every month we used to have $10 party. Now, if you have 20 people, at that time, $200 giving you a big party, So we used to have that very often. When I get up next morning, I had to shift the fridge back in position, put the drawing room, the chairs back in position. But they were very, very good times. And I was the organizer of that. Our family like a good time, because up to now, maybe if we could do it every Sunday, and the family is very large, so everybody bring a dish. Up to Sunday gone, we had something for Glenda because her birthday was early March. So we still do that, but we do that with family. Everybody bring a dish, everybody bring a bottle, we sit down, we talk nonsense, we reminisce, and that kind of thing. So I know Karim loves that, so, and I love that boy. Oh, I love that boy to death. That's my boy.
He's one of those on the list for Connected the Dots as well. He's very talented.
I want him to hear that.
Yes.
I love all my other nieces and nephews, but I have a special thing for that Karim there.
Someone is also saying on the live, Jefferson Moyes, I don't know you personally, but I like the way you think. You remind me of my late mother. I think that's a compliment.
Thank you.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah. So my life has been fulfilling, especially for the past few years. I have served on different boards, and so right now I have been serving on the Dominicana Infirmary Board for years. It's a voluntary board, so nobody fighting to come on it. The other boards, everybody fighting for it because you get paid for meetings and whatever. So I want to make an appeal to on behalf of the infirmary that Dominicans make a contribution in whatever way you can, because the government is really giving a good subvention. But when you have people with different needs, you have to work a little harder to get them there. So I just wanted to say that, Apasa.
Hey, look, Mimi Thomas saying, please let Miss Williams stop. Her stories are very interesting. Hey, sorry if we interrupted you. May. We go way back.
So I just want to say I am a people's person. Some people say, but sometimes when I watch your face, I don't want to call you. Call me, because sometimes if it's just serious. And I want to maintain wherever I can help, I will help. If you come to me and you ask me, I'll tell you I cannot, if I cannot. But once I can, I will find a way to make it happen. So my life has been fulfilling. I know there are more people that love me than those that do not. And if everybody loves you, something is wrong with you. No, not everybody will love you. Some people, and jealousy is a hell of a thing to, some people, it's not because they don't like you, it's because they cannot deal with what you are doing, who you are, and how you do it, and whatever. But I thank God for the years that He has given me. I thank Him for family. I have two sons. Sometimes you raise children, you do the best you can. They do not, follow whatever you have set out for them. But I always maintain that there's a God, and He does what He does well and in His time. So I do not worry when things do not go as I would expect them to. I say, leave it to God. And sometimes you have some real evil people in that world. They're bad. We have some bad people. So you wonder sometimes, is that thing happening for real, or is there a foot force or whatever? But I am not going to pay Obiama no money. Nobody does it in my money. Because I know God will deal with what He has to deal with. So I want you to know my story when it comes to that aspect of it. But I'm dealing. And everybody say, but how you? I say, yes, I'm dealing with it because God is on my side. So I want to. I am a praying person. I pray a lot. I pray for myself. I pray for people. I know people who need prayers. I pray for them. I pray for those I don't even know that need the prayers. And I'm not glorifying myself. I am just saying that to say that everybody has a talent, something good about them that they can share with other people. And I always believe the more you give, the more you get. Especially if you're giving to who deserve the help you are giving. And I want people, I live by that philosophy, and I want people to think of that you need to look out for the other person. People tell me, but everybody business is yours then. I say, well, I make it my business. I want to Nigel, if there's something that needs to be my business, and it's because I have to help somebody, I make it my business. People say, we're taking everybody business. I say, yes, I'll take everybody business. I will help
Mother Teresa.
Yes. There are some people I have a very, very good relationship with, and I'm not sure if my parliamentary representative, I have a very good relationship with her. That's the daughter I never had. And nobody, and I want to say it publicly, nobody can tell my pal rep, that is what Auntie Sonia said about you. I won't say it. I will tell her. So we talk, we butt heads, we whatever, but nobody outside there. So I have that relationship with some people. I have some very good friends that I have that kind of relationship with. They call me about everything, and I call them about everything. There's one particular person I call about everything, and I get, you give advice, you get. And I also want to re-emphasize family is important. I have 9 siblings. We don't agree about everything. We butt heads sometimes, but nobody crosses that path when it comes to my siblings. And that is how we were brought up. And I think there is also family that's not blood. You have family that's not blood, but all your ties. You have a relationship with people because that you can talk to and you can deal with. So everybody should have somebody in their corner. You cannot not have somebody in your corner. If you do not have somebody if you have nobody in your corner, Nigel and Ivonne, something's wrong with you. If everybody's staying away from you, something has to be wrong with you. You must have somebody who you can go to and talk to about, the person might not solve all your problems. I can't solve everybody's problems, but I will help you, I can. And I will say again, I am not, if nobody's blowing your trumpet for you, blow your trumpet.
Nigel.
Right.
Yes, Nigel.
No, I was just going to say, because you have so much experience and you've had so much to go through and expertise and everything else to share. With Women's History Month or Women's Month this month, the opportunity to, as we kind of wind up, the opportunity to tell young women especially, young girls, what would you like to say to them in, overall?
I would like to say to our young women, value yourself. If you do not put value on you, nobody will do it for you. You have to know your worth. And some of us, some young women, have a lot of good in them. They have a lot of worth. And you have to be very careful who influences you. You have to be very careful whose advice you take. You have to be very careful where you go and whom you go with. And if you're looking for a life partner, maybe we should probably stop looking for the things of the world and look for something that can make you a better person. We have a lot of talented young people, young men and women in our country. Some of them are out and doing what they can and helping and whatever. And I always maintain, look out for the other sister whose hand you have to hold. Because sometimes a sister needs a hand to be stretched out to them and to pull them up. So, and I want our young people to be very critical in their thinking. You do not just decide on something today and say, okay, you have to analyze and pass according to the English thing. And you have to understand, if I do that, it may not be to my best interest. So let me look at another way of doing it. And if you know somebody who can advise you, seek that advice. Do not always have to go on what you think is right or what your peers tell you. Your peers are not always right. But I know we have strong women out there. I know we have women who are doing their best, single parents, divorced women, women who have been hurt, in one way or the other. Do not allow that to bring you down. But that will take strength, that will take resilience, and that will take faith in God, which is very, very important.
We have had several calls, by the way. I just want to apologize. We have some issues with our online number. So for that, we apologize. The phone is still lighting up, so we have had quite a few. But as we end, I want to ask you, are there words or is there a phrase that guides you, like helps steer you in the right direction, maybe a Bible verse or something that you always just recite or just say because it empowers you?
Yeah, very simply, when I find myself in a situation where I need to be strong, I just say, Lord, give me the strength that only you can give. Because in certain situations, if you're a person who believes in the higher power, you know that has to come from him. Because all around you, the world might be there shooting different things, but it's your faith in God and the strength that you can draw that will pull you through. And be good to other people. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That is one of my pet sayings. Because do not hurt somebody if you would not want that person to hurt you, or if you do not want to be hurt by anybody, because it is not a thing that is very, very nice. But God is good all the time. I say that all the time, and there must be a greater power when you look at what's happening. So it is not left unto man to do everything that should be done. There has to be divine intervention, and I believe in that.
What do you think about connecting the dots?
Oh, it's a very great program. I find this, I listen, well, I go to the market and sometimes I hustle to come home so I can listen to it. Or other times I go back. I want to encourage you and Nigel to continue that program, because there are people out there who are probably dependent on that program to let people hear their story. And I don't know what you all have in the studio, but I think it makes me open and want to talk and whatever. And I think you and Nigel, it's no flattery, I don't flatter people, but you all have the knack of getting people to talk. So continue the program, and I want to encourage other people to listen, make some time and listen to that program, because on one of those programs you might find something that will help you along the way, that will give you strength to overcome an obstacle somehow in your life.
Nigel, that's deep.
It's deep and very appreciative. And that's when Ivonne and I decided to do this. Was it 4 years ago now? 5 years?
Yeah, we started on the 14th of November 2020.
Yes, COVID so just about 4 years, heading into 5 years. We wanted to make sure we could connect and share. So we appreciate those who've been able to connect with us throughout the journey. And you're no exception, Sonia. We want to thank you, man. We appreciate you coming this Saturday and connecting with us and sharing your story, sharing your journey with us. And we know that those who were listening and viewing will definitely have, received some kind of inspiration, especially in this month, Women's Month. We want to continue to, big up our women and make sure that, let them know that there are supportive men as well beside them, making sure that we can help fix the crown too, and to the other women, continue fixing the crown of your sisters.
Yes, maybe. And I know there was this gentleman who wanted to call. He told me he was going to call and ask a question. That's one of my favorite students. Daryl Tit, I taught him at
He may have been calling, but
he told me he was going to call. But I'm happy I came. I am really happy I came. And if there is anything you need me for, once I am able, according to the Bajans, just holler. I'll be there.
Nigel, I really enjoyed the program.
Appreciate that.
Nigel, normally we start the program, we have jokes, and even throughout the program, we bring in a joke or two. But when you go back, especially because we have that platform where you can go back and listen, because, you may have missed something. And you listen to every word that was said, and you realize, but that was a good program. So I know I'm going to say this, I can say it all now. But when I go back and I listen to every bit, that was said by Sonia Williams, very empowering. That's what I like about it as well. So share advice for everybody, every sector, everybody, in politics, children, women, girls. I mean, the list just, goes on and on and on. And then that's what I really love about the program. The fact that whilst we are connecting, we can empower people. So that's great. Yeah. We have done this today, Nigel. We have.
And I want to continue to wish you well. I want to pray that this program continues, and I really want to encourage more Dominicans. Make a time on your Saturday mornings to sit down and listen to the program. There's so much to learn from those who have gone before me, and I just want to say, keep up the good work, Nigel. And people may not see it, but you are doing something, really, really good for our people.
Nigel, before I cry, let's end there. No, but really, it was a good program. Thank you for coming on. That's all I can say. Nigel, I don't know what to say again.
That's it.
I learned a lot from this.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Thank you. Nigel, we'll do it again next week, God willing.
We do it again next week, my dear. We connect again. All right.
All right. All the best. Sonia Williams, thank you.
You're welcome, Ivans and I.
All right.
All right.